OverDrive continues. Brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles, McLennan. Our buddy Mike Johnson coming up here in a moment. Something to chew on, brought to you by Boston Pizza coming up in a moment. We're down to 4 teams in the NHL, 4 teams in the NBA. Jay's in action tonight. And CFL right around the corner. You've got only 2 major championships left in golf. You got a lot going on right now. A lot going on.
Good couching, some good.
Very good couching. Great weekend, man. Long weekend. Beautiful weather up here. Like we were talking about it on Thursday, exactly how there have been, May 2-4s of the past, Victoria Day weekends of the past where it's snowing, or feels like it's 8, 9, 10 degrees and wet. This was like mid-July weather all weekend. It was amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
I feel at some point I've got to respond to some of the things that were said on Thursday and Friday on the show.
Okay. Quickly, 2 things, because you would have been disappointed in me. I was such an ignorant question to ask.
I watched the clip. I watched the clip to Strutty. That was so funny. I thought it was awesome.
So stupid to wonder if May 2-4 is the rest of the country. Of course it is.
That was awesome.
You should have seen in the same show, Noodles, he asked for a Brad Marchand clip from JP, and he played the wrong one.
Oh no.
Oh.
I think I handled it pretty well.
Was there a head shake, or what was it?
No, he was like, oh, that's not the right one, JP. And
like
then
twitching. Yeah. I was in here, too, so I could look over and be like, JP, what the hell are you doing right now?
Oh, no.
But the bigger conversation that came out of Thursday was you in Vegas on a date night last night with the boys, bowling with some woman you were never going to see again. Explain yourself, Noodles.
Okay, so my phone starts lighting up, and I'm getting it from everybody. Like, Strutty is like, Strutty
There's
is
also the Batman movie in Spain.
Yes.
We got to get to.
Okay, well, that one is different. That's my wife chiming in. So, but right away, Gurdeep sends me a note and says, Strutty is just woodshedding you right now. And I'm like, oh, my God, like, what is going on? And then I'm getting, tweets and everything. I have to defend myself because the story is somewhat true, but Strutty adds, he embellishes it. That's the problem. He embellishes the story.
He wouldn't do that. He wouldn't do that.
He embellished the story because we had a great weekend. We met some people, and this particular girl and her friends, the next day we were just hanging by the pool, and she's like, would you like to go for a drink that afternoon because they were flying out? I said, yes, I'll meet up with you, and then I can meet up with my buddies to go out that night because they're just laying by the pool drinking. So I went and met, and it wasn't at a bowling alley. I don't know how all of a sudden it was bowling. I think Strutty embellished that. It was at a restaurant called Gordon Biersch, which is like it's a pub. So I went and met for a few drinks and went back and met the guys. And listen, it was, it was a partial date or whatever. But Strutty turned it into this ridiculous.
The way Strutty told the story is that you blew the guys off to go on a bowling date. And it was like, that is ridiculous. The girls were from like Savannah, Georgia. Very nice group. And the one girl I was chatting up, whatever, we're single. And it was a good time. Yeah. So I went and had a drink with the group and hung out with them that afternoon. And, Strutty tells the story of how I went bowling. And then you guys are talking about Goodwill Hunting, where I slide the ticket across the table. Got to go see about a girl. That wasn't the case. It was just. And of course, I'm not here to defend myself, so I'm just getting chewed on.
Oh, yeah.
And then and then Steph calls me and goes, oh, that story. Do you remember when you took me to Batman in Spain? I'm like, yes, we saw a movie in Spain. And what's wrong with that?
That's crazy, Noodles. Yeah, Spain is one of the most beautiful places in the world. You're there for a short period of time. You can see the movie anytime. When you're home and it's raining, you're in Spain, dude. Yeah. And you do not go to the movies in Spain. You can't if you're a tourist.
Why? I don't mind doing movie theaters in other countries. What's wrong with that?
I think it's absurd.
Have a beer and watch a movie. We watched Batman was released that weekend. It was a great movie. We watched it in a
Was it in English or was it in Espanol?
You can do it. It was English with Spanish subtitles, whatever it was. So, but
That's
we
doable.
watched the English version. It was 2 hours of our life on a vacation.
It's
What's wrong with that?
Spain, though. Like, you had to choose something. You're like, okay, we're not going to have time to do that.
Yeah.
But we're canceling that because we got to see Batman. Got to see it.
Well, it was a good movie at that point.
It is a brilliant movie. I'm not disputing that it's a great movie. But it's the Spain part that I can't jive with. And, like, Johnny's over there. Now, to be fair, they're at the World Championships for a long time. And it's a work trip. They're there to work. Maybe it is a good idea. If you have an off day, go catch a movie. But I doubt it. I would guess Mike Johnson and others, if they have a day off over there, they're sightseeing. They go to a museum, find like a really cool part of town. Let's ask them. Maybe I'm wrong on this. Here's our TSN hockey analyst, Mike Johnson. Johnny, any movie seeing over there while you're in Prague or throughout Europe?
Yeah, does Gord ever phone you and say you want to hit up a flick tonight, pal?
You couldn't get me to go to a movie in Toronto. Forget about going to one in Europe. I'm in Prague. I'm going to go find some church. I'm going to go find an old town.
Yeah.
I'm going to find something with a story behind it. Absolutely. Now, if you're a movie buff, I guess, and we are here for like 3 weeks, so like you could sneak in a movie, but no. Movies are for like rainy days in your basement.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't go to movies anymore.
I know. It's crazy. Like the running of the bulls could have been happening, and Noodles is in there watching Batman.
Well,
it's
not
crazy.
like we also went to a bullfight too, so it wasn't like we did everything we could. Took a cooking class, did all of these things over there, but we did go see the Batman, and it was a good movie. But Steph was, obviously had to point out some of my deficiencies because Strutty threw me under the bus last week with a fake news story. So I'm now defending myself here on a Tuesday after 5 days. I've been stewing sitting here because I've just been woodshedded all weekend. And terrible.
That is
terrible.
tough. That is tough for you to take a beating on your own show. Whenever anyone is away, you just get torched. Like you basically are setting yourself up for trouble. But anyway, you're over there at the Worlds. Canada's doing well. Like everything. Now we're into the real stuff, right? They got Slovakia coming up. How are we feeling about their chances of following through here and maybe winning this thing?
Well, they are playing well. They went undefeated, a couple overtime games, but did not lose a game in the 7-game preliminary round. They got better as they always do. Noodles was very, when they struggled against Austria, Noodles was the voice of reason. Like, you know what? They worked their way into this tournament as far as the focus and sort of the energy they put in the games, and they have. They've been way better. Their last 3 games, they played, Finland, Switzerland, and Czechia, all really good teams, and they beat them all 3 and 4 nights. Were really good. Dylan Cousins, guys, scored a goal in 6 straight. He's got 8 goals to lead the tournament. The guy is a beast over here. 2 tournaments in a row. Last time he was over here, he had 7 goals in the tournament. Now he's got 8 and going. He scored an overtime, shorthanded game winner today to silence the Czech crowd. They look good, and they have Slovakia in the quarterfinals, which is really the game you have to win, right? Like, you come over here for 2.5, 3 weeks, and if you lose the quarterfinals, the whole trip seems pointless because you don't even get to play for a medal. Like, if you win the quarterfinal, you got to play for a medal. Play to the last day. So they're in a good spot. They've come first. Slovakia comes fourth. They should be the favorite in that one. Now, once they get past that, Sweden appears to be the best team. Sweden, guys, has basically their Olympic defense. Hedman, Erik Karlsson, Rasmus Dahlin is on their 3rd pair. Jonas Brodin, like, they are loaded, and they have not lost a game. They've won all 7 in regulation. So they'll be tough to beat, but Canada should be there on the final weekend going for it.
Johnny, you talked about Dylan Cousins. He's lucky that he didn't blow his knee out on that Fiala hit. I mean, that's the...
Seriously?
I was watching that. I think it was live, but I was watching it, and then obviously they score a couple power play goals off of that. But that is the biggest concern I always have with guys going over there. They're playing hard, and ask Eric Stahl. That was I can't remember who was the guy that hit him. Eric Stahl.
Edler.
Alex Edler.
Good memory,
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, that was. Cousins tried to avoid contact, but Fiala, that's a knee on knee, and rightfully so. He gets a major and kicked out of the game. But if he injures himself right there, that's a long rehab over the summer. But instead, he ends up scoring a beautiful goal on the power play. And you mentioned shorthanded today. Cousins is a really nice player, but those injuries always concern me, or potential ones.
Yeah, you're right. And that was a pretty nasty hit, that knee on knee. Like, that could have been much worse. Cousins was no worse for wear. He missed one shift and went back to it. But part of the way that they officiate and the way that they do supplementary discipline over here, Noodles, is taking that into consideration. Like, this tournament wants players to feel like they will be protected from, stuff that shouldn't happen. So I was actually quite surprised that Kevin Fiala played today. He scored 2 goals in the game when they won, but they tend to come down pretty hard on guys when they cross the line, because they want teams and players to feel comfortable saying, send your guys over there. It's not going to be anything crazy. Never going to be perfectly safe, but we're going to do everything in our power to make it so that they don't have anything like that happen. So that would be the great fear. Alex Lyon was the goalie for the Americans. He got hurt mid-game and went right back to North America. I don't even know what's wrong with him. He just disappeared. He's like, whatever was significant enough that he left the team and the country. So, there's always that risk, but I think the rewards of, one, playing for your country, which you do feel, a real pride in doing. You get coached by different coaches and around other players, which I think you can grow and learn from, just from interacting and watching and experiencing other stuff. And then playing in games that matter, in games to win something. I think there's always something really beneficial, no matter where you are in your career, to put yourself in those high-stress situations and learn what happens. So I think there's lots of positives that outweigh the negatives, but there is always that fear.
Something to chew on, brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. From tip-offs to tie bites and puck drops to pizza, BP's elite lineup of apps, wings, and ice cold beers, always dialed in for game time. Hustle in your local BP tonight. We've been asking online, Johnny, and we'll ask you. Conference finals are now set. 4 teams left. New York Rangers, Florida Panthers, Edmonton Oilers, Dallas Stars. Who are you most confident will reach the Cup final? Of the 4 teams, who would you put money on as that's the team I'm riding, that's the one I think will get through the next round and be seen in the Cup final?
That's not a terrible question. I mean, I think it's Florida. They're going up against the President's Trophy winners, but I think Florida, the way they're playing, the way they're built, the experience from last year, I think the fact that they don't take penalties, they will wear New York out 5-on-5, and they got a goalie who's a Vezina finalist, but Shesterkin, who is generally the best goalie in the series, shouldn't be as big an advantage as it usually is, and certainly was against Carolina for the New York Rangers. I think Florida. I think the Dallas-Edmonton series is quite a toss-up, very close. So I would say Florida, and I don't feel great about that pick. I just feel the best of them all.
Right? Yeah, you got to pick one. I'd probably say Dallas, but I have a tough time defining any of them. I think the Rangers
McJesus might go McJesus.
He might, but
he hasn't yet.
He hasn't. That's what I'm saying. He's been good. He's been and on the power play, they've been incredible.
21 points. Yeah.
I know. They've been incredible. I mean, he started with 5. He had 5 points in the first game, but not to take anything away from him. The guy's the best player in the world. Draisaitl's a beast. The Skinner stuff still scares me. I'm sorry. I know what happened in Game 6 and 7, but that still scares me. And Dallas, to me, look who they've gone through. Vegas and Colorado. That's battle-tested, and they're at home.
I think, Hayes, if you ask that question, could any team get to the conference final going through Vegas and Colorado, you'd say not a chance in hell.
It'd be tough. Tough. And then Edmonton, it's not going to get easier. Edmonton and Florida, what a run that's going to be if Dallas can get through it all. The 4 teams remaining are all great teams, and they all are
good
worthy teams
too.
Yes,
and good, kind of storylines you want to buy into. Haven't won in a while. What I want to watch though out west is we've seen Chris Tanev and Esa Lindell do a number on Jack Eichel, and then Nate McKinnon at 5-on-5, which is almost impossible to do. And now maybe the greatest test of Chris Tanev and his defensive stopper ability is now McDavid and Draisaitl, especially at 5-on-5. If he can somehow corral them after what he did to Eichel, who never scored a goal with Tanev on the ice at 5-on-5, to McKinnon, who only scored 1 in that series with Tanev on the ice 5-on-5, if he can do that again, that will go down as one of the greatest trade deadline pickups you can remember. He might not score a goal the whole playoff, and it will still be one of the greatest trade deadline acquisitions of recent memory, given what he's done to that team.
Yeah.
Johnny, we can circle back on the final four teams, but I wanted to get your thoughts on Berube being hired today, and we had CJ on, and the idea of roster construction came up. If roster construction came across your desk, what would be the first thing you tackled with it for the Toronto
Maple Leafs? With the current Leafs lineup as is?
Yes, like it's just there's got to be some. Yeah. There's going to be some changes here. There's some money coming off the books. There's some money to be spent. It's roster construction. They have to construct a roster for next season that's different, and they got to go about it a different way. What would be the first thing on the pecking order for you if it was on your watch?
Defense. I'd go for 2 good defensemen. Now the challenge, though, is like who and how. It's easy to say I need defensemen. Everyone does, but like Brandon Montour's out there. Like Matt Roy's out there. Like there are some UFA guys that should be in that sort of 3. Not Montour will get $7 or $8 million, but Roy could be in like a $3 or $4 million contract. That's where I go. I spend the money there. I don't spend too much on offense right now. I go for a veteran, relatively cheap backup goalie and playing with Wall, and I'll have $2.5 million, in net. And then we'll see what else frees up. I don't know if I have another $10 million on, because Marner's come off the books or something like that, then that would change. But I think, you take the money. They need defensemen. They have right now, Riley signed, McCabe signed, Benoit signed. They don't have a lot of guys there. I guess Liljegren could be re-signed. But I would look to get a significant upgrade on the right side. Defense would be priority number 1.
Johnny, has your philosophy changed? Because we were talking about last hour on goaltending, and outside of Stuart Skinner, you take a look at the other 3 teams, all pretty much have a rock star in net. And I know everyone talked about Vegas, you can do it by committee, all of that type of stuff. But this playoff, if it hasn't shined a light on the importance of goaltending, nothing really has, because you look at what Edmonton had to do, and, good on Stuart Skinner. There was some adversity there, and his last 2 games he was really rock solid, and the team played great in front of him. But, thought goaltending would be a number 1 priority. I believe that D should be. But the question is, Joseph Woll, you can't trust. I think he's going to be a player, but he's had injury issues his whole career. So, when you say sign a veteran guy, backup guy, now all of a sudden you can get through the regular season, but now what are you going to do in the playoffs where it's going to have to be by committee potentially?
Yeah, I guess my challenge, Noodles, is, how many of those goalies like an Ottinger, like a Shesterkin, or Bobrovsky are around? Like they're not around. So I don't know if you're going to try to trade for UC Saros or whatever, those crazy rumors that might be out there. I suppose, but, I still think if Joseph Woll can stay healthy, which is a big if because he hasn't, I think he's close enough to being really good that, they can allocate $8 million elsewhere and not in net and be a net better team. They had Vancouver was in the second round. They're playing Archer Sealops, right? They were in Game 7. So, it ebbs and flows. I won't overreact to every individual year. Like some year, the big name goalies will get there in Vasilevsky, and some years it'll be Aiden Hill. But I still think the way the Leafs are built right now, especially in their cap crunch situation, unless they shed one of the big salaries, which I don't know if they'll be able to do. I think it is to put the roster together as is right now. You can't afford one of those big guys, let alone where you're going to find one.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, the trade market is most likely. Ideally, this is why Wall, if he could stay healthy and give you a reason to believe he's going to turn into a number 1, it just makes your life so much easier. And I could see a scenario where they just force themselves into that. But he's had so many injury problems throughout his career that if it fails, it's on you, right? Like if he gets hurt, and you got to put someone in the net in the playoffs that you don't love and he plays poorly, that's on the GM. That's on management, because what they decided to do was just close their eyes and pray it was going to work out.
That's what they did this year. Samsonov was on waivers.
But with Wall, when he plays, he looks like a really good goalie. Like, he looks like a guy that has the makings of being someone you want in the net. And if he stays healthy and gives it to you, he's not only a guy that can do that for you, he's doing it on the cheap.
Yeah.
Like, it's the best of both worlds. And, a lot of these guys, they are drafted, they're developed, they come through the system. But, if you're not going to do that, then it feels like it's Ullmark, Markstrom, Saros. Like, those are 3 veteran guys who we think will be available.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably what you're talking about, Johnny. You got to try to find one of those 3 guys. You
do, but are you going to trade? Like, what are you trading for Markstrom for a year? What are you trading for Saros? I mean, you have to extend them as well, but it's just those are trades that are hard to make. And Jake Ottinger is no doubt a stud goalie. He wasn't that great this year. He didn't have a great year, right? Like, Shesterkin was not as good as Jonathan Quick the first 25 games of the season. Goalies are hard. Even the best goalies are hard to figure. I just, if you're trying to put together the net best team you can with the money available and the assets available, of course I'd rather have Markstrom. Of course I'd rather have Saros. Or even Ullmark, although I don't even know if Ullmark would waive to come to Toronto. But I just don't know, what am I going to have to give him, Easton Cowan and David Liljegren in the first, how much am I going to have to give to get him, and then how much worse are we going to be now and into the future? That's the challenge, because they've painted themselves into the corner with the way they put their roster together already, that they don't have the flexibility maybe to do that right now. Maybe next year, next summer, they would be more able to take on something like that.
Yeah, I think next year, I think it's going to take a year. I think next year is a year where you might kind of sit back and you're going to allocate your money in a certain way, but I wouldn't panic. I wouldn't make panic moves. I wouldn't overpay. It might take you a year to clear your books, accumulate some assets, allow some young players to grow. And Leaf fans aren't going to want to hear that, but it may be a transition season. It may be a year where Berube gets a year to see what he's got. They figure out who they like, who can step up, and then, because in the next 12 months, they're going to have a ton of space. A ton of space. And then you also, if you get away from making a bunch of trades, I don't know. I'm not going to predict what's going to happen at the trade deadline. I can't picture a scenario where there's sellers, but anything's possible. But it may just be a sit back and breathe, make smart, astute moves, and next summer pounce.
But even if they do that, Hayes, it's not provided they have moderate good health. It's not like they won't be good again next year. It's not. I would be surprised if they're going to make the playoffs next year, even if they just ran it back as is. New coach, same group. I mean, they've been a good team. What were they this year? They 9th in the league, 10th in the league overall. They'll do that again. Now it may not be feel like a Stanley Cup contending team, which is different than being the 10th best team. And maybe they do have to wait one more year before they can kind of make those other kind of moves. But it will be interesting. It will be interesting. I will say this, guys. John Tavares over here has been awesome. He has played so well. Better than I remember him playing almost at any point this year for the Leafs. He's been dynamite. So I don't know if John, if they asked him, would be interested in facilitating a trade. I could see him saying, no, I got the no move. I'll play out the year. You don't have to re-sign me. It's all good. We'll see how it goes, and then we'll see what happens next summer. He would be willing to play it out. Mitch, maybe not so much.
Yeah, feels that way. Feels like Marner's the that's going to be spicier, potentially, on both ends. All right, Johnny, enjoy yourself over there. Go catch a movie or something, buddy, and just relax. And...
All right, boys, listen, before I go, Positive Tuesday today, okay? I met a guy over here, a guy named Jan Eichler. He's a journalist over here. He told me to tell you specifically that he listens to you guys literally every day on the podcast over here, whenever he downloads it after you guys have done it. He said it was your show and you 3 stooges that helped him get through COVID every day when he had nothing else to do. So he wanted to say, tell you, thank you for what you guys do to help people get through the tough days.
I love it.
There you
Donka. Well, that's amazing.
Yeah. We're not in Germany, all right?
Okay.
But that's okay.
I thought you said it was a German. Did you say it was a German journalist, or did I just hear that?
You just made it up. He's a journalist. I don't think he's German, but I'll
German journalist.
For the Donka. Mr. International.
I am. I know that word. It's the only German word I know. I thought you said German. Anyway, disregard that. Cancel that. delete that out of the podcast, Doogie. Yeah, get that out of the podcast. But shout out, we appreciate that.
He was very sincere. He was very, very sincere about it, so I wanted to relay the message.
Awesome. Well,
all right.
Thank you very much. Make sure you say thank you for us, and we'll just keep doing what we do, Johnny. That's what we're going to keep doing, buddy.
All right, boys. We'll talk to you in a couple of days.
All right. Talk soon. There's Mike Johnson, our TSN hockey analyst. How about that? Going international. That's great.
Love it.
Donka.
That's great. It's Donka.
Donka.
Oh, you're going to make fun of that guy's name, too?
No, I thought he said German. I thought he said there was a German journalist over here covering the Worlds. I don't know where I got that from, but anyway, that's cool. Yeah, you can find everything podcasted, right? You can find it on the iHeart Radio app. You can find it everywhere you might find a podcast, wherever you want to download it.
Just got a note from Crapper. He's not coming on. He said,
Why?
I wish I could, bro. I've got a dinner tonight. He said, let's get those boys out to Weston, and then we'll see who's laughing. I appreciate the invite.
Okay.
All
right.
That guy will beat you by 30.
Well, I got to get strokes. I mean, if he's a +4.
There's the upcoming match. Hayes versus Crapper.
Love it.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, we'll get the champ out there.
Okay.
And we'll see what you do against the champ.
I mean,
Crapper.
it's at his home course.
Dude, it doesn't matter. He'll give you as many shots as you need.
Well,
Crapper
I just want the appropriate amount of strokes. Whatever the Golf Canada app says, Crapper is, whatever I am. Yeah, let's do it, man.
Okay.
Let's do it. I can't wait.
Party.
Let's party.
Well, we still owe him an apology.
We'll get Doogie out there in a cart with a video.
Okay.
And
Hayes
we'll just
versus Crapper.
Hayes versus Crapper, the grudge match.
Okay.
Love it.
I love it, man. Down and dirty. Down and dirty. Yeah. Okay. Brought to you by Dude Wipes. We got to work on that. See if you can possibly get a sponsor.
Doogie, get a sponsor for the grudge match. Hayes versus Crapper. Dude Wipes something.
Yeah.
Dude Wipes.
All right. We'll revisit our conversation with Craig Berube. We got our best bets brought to you by FanDuel later in the hour. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 on TSN 2. All right, best bet still to come on Celtics Pacers tonight. Pacers big underdogs in Boston. Jays White Sox tonight. We'll continue to touch on what Ross Atkins had to say over the weekend. Not much. Excited and encouraged. We're excited and we're encouraged. And listen, they've won 2 straight. So, maybe they're moving in the right direction. Playing the White Sox, always helpful. But, more on the Jays later this afternoon and certainly throughout the week. But had the chance to catch up with the new head coach of the Maple Leafs, Craig Berube, who was a former Leaf. He was involved in the famous Doug Gilmour trade. He was going the other way to Calgary for the Dougie Gilmour trade, which is amazing. I mean, that he was a part of history, Leaf history. That's probably the most famous Leaf trade of all time. Certainly one of the 3 or 4. And we had the chance to catch up with him, and it's been a whirlwind, I'm sure, the last 24, 48 hours, if not more than that. And began by asking Craig, is it all sunk in yet that you're the head coach of the Leafs?
Excited to be here. It's a first-class organization. I've been here for a couple days, and really looking forward to getting going here down the road. But like I said, just excited and great people, working with great people here, and obviously can't wait to work with the team.
Greg, how secretive were, it seems like every time there's a coach hired, there's videos of them at the airport. How buttoned down was this? Did you have to get to Toronto on the down low, or how secretive was the whole process?
Not really any. I mean, I jumped on a flight and cruised in here with my tracksuit on and then rolled into a car and got to the hotel.
Okay.
That's pretty
That's
good.
what I want to hear, man.
Yeah, that is good because, it does seem to, there's always up here in Toronto, people are tracking flights. There's some wild stuff going on. Maybe that's actually the answer. Just jump on a regular plane and get in a car and drive
with
downtown.
With a tracksuit.
Yeah, people will ultimately leave you alone. And, you obviously you were a hot commodity, so to speak. It's our understanding you interviewed with other teams. Was this Toronto job always the one that you had your eye on and the one you wanted?
Well, like I said, you don't know what you're going to get. Obviously there's jobs out there. Yeah, it'd be a great job, and this is obviously one of them. Again, to work for Toronto Maple Leafs, just the history, the original 6, and working in up in Canada in this environment is very appealing. And like I said, I really believe that talking with Brad and Brendan Shanahan, and we're all on the same page on what we believe in. And then I look at the roster, and I'm like, this is a very good hockey team. So I'm excited. I'm ready to get going.
So have you had extensive conversations with Tree as far as how the roster is going to be constructed? I mean, a lot of times the coach and the manager work together as far as some of the things that you do like on your teams. Is that something that you've had those conversations with Tree about?
Well, not a ton. We're kind of just taking it step by step here, guys. It's kind of like 2 days on of the job here. So a lot of stuff we are taking care of, and we're working towards that. But we're definitely going to have conversations here coming up about it.
With Craig Berube, the new head coach of the Maple Leafs, and we were referencing your press conference today, and you spoke about your relationship with the players, and the word accountability comes up all the time, and it's just natural. Every new coach gets it in every sport. But in terms of what you're going to ask of your players, can you detail that for us? Like, what's the day one conversation, Craig Berube to his players? This is what I'm looking for, and this is what I expect the players to bring to the table.
Yeah, I talked about it today. It's team first here. What's the most important thing is the team and what's best for the team. Obviously, we expect our players to do their job. Really, it's like, what's your job? Do your job. That's what we expect, and you got to make sacrifices for the team. That's obviously very important because if we want to be a team first mindset, you got to make sacrifices at times. But again, like I talked about today, everybody's important. Mm-hmm. Everybody's going to have a role on a team, and everybody's going to be used.
Well, you used the term partnership, and you just detailed your side of the partnership. I'm curious, if you have examples in the past or expectations in the future of how that partnership can go the other way in order to maybe keep you accountable, to challenge you in certain ways. Is that how you define a partnership, a two-way ship, a two-way street, so to speak?
Like, my door's open to all the players, and they're going to know that. And I've had players in the past come in and talk to me about situations, things. It could be numerous things. I'm not going to bring them up. But, like I said, we work together. And that's really, in my opinion, that's how it works best. As a coach, I want to be challenged, and my players have things to challenge me about, then they should.
Craig, when you talk about relationships, you mentioned you're only a couple days on the job, so you're probably going to have to take a breath and just kind of settle in. But, are you the type of coach that'll get on a plane and go visit some of your top players and just kind of try and foster that relationship maybe away from the rink so that you can settle in and get to know them personally before you have to work with them?
Yeah, that's definitely a good question. It's something that, I want to do. So I want to try to, arrange some time to go see some players and, meet with them and talk to them. I met some guys here today, which was great. So, but I always like, in-person conversations and face-to-face conversations. Like I said, I reached out to a lot of these guys on the phone already and through text and things like that. But, we'll down the road, we want to get together.
Chief, you mentioned North-South today, and this team has been a possession team for a number of years here. So how does that change? I know every coach, regardless of what your philosophy in hockey is, wants to get the puck, wants to keep the puck. But just North-South, is that just more of a direct route to the puck and keep it once you get it?
Well, 100%. When I talk North-South, I talk about predictable hockey. It's starting in your own zone on breakouts where people are in position. You have outs, you make the play. Let's go north with it. Area plays. Listen, in St. Louis there, we were one of the highest puck possession teams in the league. We're a great forechecking team. And you have to possess the puck in different ways. It can't all be off the rush. If you watch the playoffs here and, how tight it is, there's no room. You got to put pucks deep and you got to go get them. And you go forecheck and you get the puck back, that's puck possession.
With Craig Berube, the new head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So, this team's history in the playoffs, well documented. We had you on during the playoffs to chat about it. How do you approach the history of the players who are going to stick around? There's always change, but the players that are sticking around, that are going to be here, that have been here for quite some time, that have the playoff history that they have, how do you approach that topic and I guess prepare for the next time you're in the playoffs?
Yeah, I don't think we want to look back on that. To be honest with you, that was in the past. I wasn't here. I'm going to, my players, I want them to focus on the process of getting there. And that starts in the summertime, obviously, through camp, and then we get going in the regular season. They're going to hear a lot from me about the process and just staying with the process and focusing on that. And, playoffs come around, then we'll deal with playoffs. But, it's a long year, guys. There's a lot of work to put in, and we want to, I'll say it again, just focus on the process.
So, Craig, you St. Louis, you had success. You came in there. Obviously, you won. And, I played there. It's a different animal than coaching in Toronto. Have you prepared yourself, or have you at least thought about and had conversations about how big of an adjustment it will be for you personally as far as talking every day? I mean, I can't imagine what the responsibilities were in Toronto with the scribes there, but it's a lot different here. You're going to be front and center, a lot of people asking you questions daily, sometimes 2 and 3 times you're getting interviewed. Is that something that you've thought about?
Oh, definitely. It's, I know it's a huge market. It's a huge media market. And, I knew that coming in here. And so, again, that's part of the job. And that's part of my job. So it's just another thing that I gotta, work and do. So I don't think there's any preparation, to be honest with you. Again, it's just me doing my job.
With Craig Berube, in terms of your staff, Craig, do you start immediately trying to fill that out? What's the plan?
Yeah, Brad and I are going to sit down and we're going to talk about all this stuff going forward here. So it's definitely high on the list. We got to get that situated and, get the right people in here. Whether it's the people that we're here already, we're not sure. We got a process that we got to go through and, make sure we get it right.
Craig, the game's changed a lot, but you mentioned, accountability, some toughness. Are you seeing some of the things happening in the playoffs? How is that balance, or how are you going to talk to your team about the balance as far as competing? But you do have some guys that aren't shy to drop the gloves, or at least will be, not shy to mix it up in scrums. Do you feel there's a fine line? Obviously, it's not when we played where 8-10 guys were dropping the gloves, but the game has changed. But you still really expect them to compete nightly.
Well, 100% competing and playing hard is a must. That's a non-negotiable. Toughness is not the fighting side of things. Toughness is, puck battles and taking hits to make plays and putting yourself, blocking shots, all that types of stuff. Yeah, sometimes guys drop the gloves, but that's part of the game still. We all know that. It's not as much anymore, but, I want my team to be, tough in those other areas. And then also, mental toughness and things like that. Those are all important things that, good teams have all those things. So that's what we want to get to.
But Craig Berube, have you ever had a press conference where there's another guy up there that you work with that you fought multiple times in your career, like today with Shanahan?
No, I think that might have been the first one. I'm not sure.
That must have been gratifying hearing him say, maybe I shouldn't have taken that challenge on. But, man, the two of you guys had a bunch of battles, didn't you, throughout your career?
Yeah, it was, the Devils and us back in the day with the Flyers. There was a lot of battles. Both teams were physical and tough. And Shanny, yeah. So, listen, boys, I would change places with him any time to score as many goals as he scored.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, he did it all. That's for sure. Well, welcome aboard officially. We've obviously had you on a bunch in the past. We look forward to having you on more in the future. And good luck settling in back in Toronto. As you said today, you were here for a brief time back in the early 90s, and we're looking forward to seeing what you do with the job. So thank you for joining us today, Craig.
You got it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
There he is, Craig Berube, the new head coach of the Maple Leafs. That viral fight of Shanahan and Berube, it's everywhere. Just bedlam, man. Just bedlam.
No defense, just going at it, toe to toe.
Crazy fights. Like that's the thing. There were guys that obviously fought defensively and strategically, but there were also guys in the 80s that just threw bombs.
That's it.
Yeah.
No seatbelt, just bombs.
Just bombs. Like Wendell was one of them. Like there was that great Wendell Clark-Rick Tocchet fight at the Gardens back in the day where Wendell hits someone, I think it was Mark Howe, and Tocchet just came in flying, and they just were throwing
bombs.
Just bombs. And just who was it that Stumpy Thomas fought? Is that Tux he fought? Maybe it was Tucker and Stumpy.
Well, both of those guys.
Stumpy was tough, man. He was like a middleweight that could absolutely throw jackhammers.
I think it was.
I've
Stumpy
seen
and
some
Tucker.
Stumpy fights like up close and personal where I thought Stump was just like this speedy winger with the wrist shot. He would kick some people's ass.
Oh yeah,
man.
Yeah.
I think it was. I think Stumpy was with the Leafs, and I think Darcy was in Tampa. Pretty sure. I think it was a Rock'em Sock'em like fight of the year kind of thing.
Wow.
Although Cherry he'd have a heavyweight fight as the fight. He'd always call it like what would he call it? Like the undercard or something. It's like just to get us warmed up. Here's the don't look past these guys. They can really throw them. And it was like Stumpy and Tux just throwing bombs.
Those Rock'em Sock'em videos. Like I used to get them for Christmas all the time. They were
the best.
Unbelievable.
It was mandatory. You had to get Rock'em Sock'em. You had to.
VHS. Just Rock'em Sock'em.
Oh, good.
Volume 22. And it would just be like, guys,
it was
just
the greatest.
Going at it.
Always the cheesy music. And, he'd have different themes every year and different outfits. And, there'd be segments of goals, hits, stops, bloopers.
Scotty McKay just wrote me and said it was Tucker and Stumpy at Maple Leaf Gardens.
Yeah. Dude, you got to see it. And now they're really close, as you know. They're really good buddies.
Yeah.
And
just a tilt.
We got to find. Maybe we can find that and play it, and we'll just talk over it. We'll see. I don't see why not. See if you can find that, Doogie. It's a great tilt. All right, we'll come back with our best bets. Brought to you by FanDuel. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, today's best bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. I'm going to take the points tonight. Everyone's been betting against the Pacers, saying they can't do it. I think the Celtics are going to win the series. I think Boston sets up really well to win the NBA championship, but I'm getting 10.5. I'll take the points. It's a conference final. Indy's coming off a big win, Game 7 at the Garden. I don't think they'll be overwhelmed.
They get smoked,
no,
dude?
I think Boston's the better team. And Boston may win tonight, but I think Indy shows up and gives them a fight. And all I need them to do is keep it within 10. It's a conference final game. I'm getting 10.5. I'll take the points.
Yeah, take them.
I'm taking them. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. The sweat begins at tip-off by betting your favorite NBA star to score the first basket or go for 30-plus points in a same-game parlay. Please play responsibly. Must be 19-plus, physically located in Ontario. You guys want to finish this off with Tux versus Stumpy?
Yes.
Let's watch this.
Yeah, because
Scotty McKay said possibly the best middleweight he's ever seen. Tilt.
Oh, unreal. I was at the Gardens, and it was obviously Stumpy was a Leaf. There's Dallas Aikens was a Leaf, and Tucker was with Tampa. Look at these two just throwing bombs. Just no defense, because they're both about the same size, right? They're middleweights, I'd say. And once it gets going, this is probably the one. I don't know if Pat Quinn, it was more than that. That wasn't the whole fight. But
they must have gone another time.
Yeah,
too,
there was more. There was
tough.
way more than that. It was wild, the fight that these two had. It was crazy.
Yeah,
that might have been the start of them, the Leafs being like, we got to get this guy up here.
Yeah.
We might need to find a way to get him.
Those two sat in a golf cart for 5 years straight after that and just played golf and were best friends.
It's so funny. It was like Shanahan and Berube today.
Yeah.
Like they're both like, yeah, I remember that fight pretty well. I had a couple hundred fights. Craig had over 200. Anyway, he's our new coach, and I'm the president. This is great.
So weird.
It's such a different sport. It's amazing. So we got Jays in action tonight. There's a lot of rumors out there. Mark Feinstein had an interesting report on what it would cost to get Vladdy or Bo, and would the Jays be willing to look into it. We'll get into that extensively tomorrow. We'll be teeing up the conference finals in the NHL and the Stanley Cup playoffs, so we're looking forward to that. A lot going on this week. Good to be back. It was a long weekend. Good to be back. Good to see everyone behind the scenes. Thank you for helping out. As always, we appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today, TV, radio, podcast, web, we appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
Hayes v. Crapper, the grudge match, coming soon, 4 p.m.
Love it. We'll chat then.